记事 Chapter 16 1. 记事将伐专于。然有记录见于孔子曰：记事将有事于专于。孔子曰：求。吾乃尔是过于。夫专于，昔者先王以为东盟主，且在邦域之中矣，是社稷之臣也。何以伐为？然有曰：夫子欲之，吾二臣者皆不欲也。孔子曰：求。周任有言曰：臣立就列，不能折止。威而不持，颠而不服，则将焉用彼相矣。且而言过矣。虎兕出于峡，龟欲毁于毒中，是谁之过于？然有曰：今服专于，故而近于弊。今不取，后世必为子孙忧。孔子曰：求。君子及夫舍曰欲之，而必为之辞。丘也闻有国有家者，不患寡而患不均，不患贫而患不安。盖君无贫，和无寡，安无倾。夫如是，故远人不服，则修文德以来之。既来之，则安之。今有与求也，相夫子，远人不服而不能来也，邦分崩离析而不能守也。而谋动干戈于邦内，吾恐季孙之忧，不在专于，而在萧墙之内也。The head of a powerful family of nobles in Confucius' native state was preparing to commence hostilities against a small principality within that state. Two of Confucius' disciples, who were in the noble's service, came to see Confucius and informed him of it. Confucius, turning to one of these disciples, said, Sir, is not this due to your fault? The reigning family of this principality derived its titles from ancient emperors. Besides, its land is situate within our own territory. The ruler, therefore, is a prince of the empire. What right, then, have you to declare war against a vassal of the emperor? The disciple to whom the above was addressed replied, It is my lord, our master, who wishes for this war. It is not we two, who are only his servants, that desire it. Confucius then answered, and ancient historians say, Let those who can stand the fight fall into the ranks, and let those who cannot retire. What is the use of a guide to a blind man if, when he is in danger, the guide does not help him, and, when he falls, the guide does not lift him up? Besides, you are wrong in what you have said to excuse yourself. When a tiger or a wild animal escapes from its cage, or when a tortoise shell or a valuable gem gets broken into its casket, who is responsible and to blame in such a case? But now, argued one of the disciples, this principality is very strongly fortified and is within easy reach of our most important town. If we do not reduce and take it now, it will in future be a source of anxiety and danger to the descendants of the family. Sir, answered Confucius, a good man hates to make excuses when he ought to say simply, I want it. But for my part, I have been taught to believe that those who have kingdoms and possessions should not be concerned that they have not enough possessions, but should be concerned that possessions are not equally distributed. They should not be concerned that they are poor, but should be concerned that the people are not contented. For with equal distribution there will be no poverty, with mutual goodwill there will be no want, and with contentment among the people there can be no downfall and dissolution. This being so, when the people outside the country do not submit, a ruler should improve the moral education at home in order to attract them. When people from outside are attracted and come to his country, the ruler should make them happy and contented. Now you two gentlemen, continued Confucius, while assisting your master in his government, have done nothing to attract people from outside when they have shown signs of insubmission. At present, when the country is actually internally torn by faction, dissensions, outbreaks and dissolutions, you are doing nothing to prevent them. Instead of this, you are now going to bring on the ravages and horrors of war within our own state. I am afraid the danger in future to the stability of the house of your noble lord will not come from that small principality against which you are now going to declare war, but will rise from within the walls of your master's own palace. 2. 孔子曰：天下有道，则礼乐征伐自天子出；天下无道，则礼乐征伐自诸侯出。自诸侯出，盖10世悉不施矣；自大夫出，5世悉不施矣；陪臣执国命，3世悉不施矣。天下有道，则政不在大夫；天下有道，则庶人不义。Confucius remarked, in the normal state of the government of an empire, the initiative and final decision in matters of religion, education, and declaration of war form the supreme prerogative of the emperor. During abnormal conditions in the government of the empire, that prerogative passes into the hands of the princes of the empire, in which case it is seldom that 10 generations pass before they lose it. Should that prerogative pass into the hands of the nobility of the empire, it has rarely happened that they have retained it for 5 generations. When subordinate officers have the power of government in their hands, they generally lose their authority in the course of 3 generations. When there are order and justice in the government of a country, the supreme power of government will not be in the hands of the nobility or of a ruling class. When there are justice and order in the government of a country, the common people will not meddle with the government. Footnote 80. Confucius meant by the first what is called in Europe an oligarchy, and by the second democracy, both of which, according to the passage here, can never be the true normal permanent state of government in a country. The ruling class or nobility in ancient China corresponds to what Mr. Ruskin called squires or country gentlemen of England. 3. 孔子曰：禄之去公事5世矣，政逮于大夫4世矣。古服3桓之子孙危矣。Confucius, speaking of the state of government in his native state, remarked, "It is now 5 generations since the appointments to offices in the state have been taken away from the sons of the reigning houses. It is now 4 generations since the powers of government have passed into the hands of the ruling class or nobility. Therefore, the descendants of the most ancient houses have lost all power and are now living in obscurity." 4. 孔子曰：益者3有，损者3有。有直，有量，有多闻，益矣；有辩辟，有善柔，有辩佞，损矣。Confucius remarked, "There are 3 kinds of friendship which are beneficial and 3 kinds which are injurious. Friendship with upright men, with faithful men, and with men of much information, such friendships are beneficial. Friendship with plausible men, with men of insinuating manners, and with glib-tongued men, such friendships are injurious." 5. 孔子曰：益者3乐，损者3乐。乐结礼乐，乐道人之善，乐多贤友，益矣；乐交乐，乐亦游，乐宴乐，损矣。Confucius remarked, "There are 3 kinds of pleasures which are beneficial and 3 kinds which are injurious. Pleasure derived from the study and criticism of the polite arts, pleasure in admiring and speaking of the excellent qualities of man, and pleasure in having many friends of virtue and talents. These pleasures are beneficial. Pleasure in dissipation, in extravagance, in mere conviviality, such pleasures are injurious." 6. 孔子曰：是于君子有3谦，言未及之而言谓之躁，言及之而不言谓之隐，未见颜色而言谓之古。Confucius remarked, "There are 3 kinds of errors to which men are liable when in the presence of their superiors. First, to speak out when one is not called upon to speak. That is called being forward. Secondly, to keep silence when called upon to speak. That is called being disingenuous. Thirdly, to speak out without taking into consideration the expression in the look of the person spoken to. That is called blindness. 7. 孔子曰：君子有3戒，少之时，血气未定，戒之在色；及其壮也，血气方刚，戒之在斗；及其老也，血气既衰，戒之在德。Confucius remarked, There are three things which a man should beware of in the three stages of his life. In youth, when the constitution of his belly is not yet formed, he should beware of lust. In manhood, when his physical powers are in full vigor, he should beware of strife. In old age, where the physical powers are in decay, he should beware of greed. 8. 孔子曰：君子有三畏，畏天命，畏大人，畏圣人之言。小人不知天命而不畏也，侠大人，侮圣人之言。Confucius remarked, There are three things which a wise and good man holds in awe. He holds in awe the laws of God, persons in authority, and the words of wisdom of holy men. A fool, on the other hand, does not know that there are laws of God. He, therefore, has no reverence for them. He is disrespectful to persons in authority, and contemns the words of wisdom of holy men. Footnote 81, literally, commandments of God. In other places we have translated these words as religion, for that not the laws of Moses, Lycurgus, Christ or Confucius, which are merely interpretations of the laws of God, is, we believe, what is called religion in Europe. The laws of God comprise all, from the simple law that 2 and 2 make 4, that ginger is hot for the mouth, the laws that guide the courses of sun, moon and stars, to, finally, the highest law of right and wrong in the heart of man. Oh, that my lot might lead me in the path of holy pureness of thought and deed, the path which august laws ordain, laws which in the highest heaven had their birth. The power of God is mighty in them and growth not old. 9. 孔子曰：生而知之者，上也；学而知之者，次也；困而学之，又其次也；困而不学，民斯为下矣。Confucius remarked, The highest class of men live those who live born with a natural understanding. The next class are those who acquire understanding by study and application. There are others again who are born naturally dull, but who yet by strenuous efforts try to acquire understanding. Such men may be considered the next class. Those who are born naturally dull and yet will not take the trouble to acquire understanding, such men are the lowest class of the people. 10. 孔子曰：君子有九思，视思明，听思聪，色思温，貌思恭，言思忠，事思敬，疑思问，愤思难，见得思义。Confucius remarked, There are 9 objects which a wise aims at. In the use of his eyes, his object is to see clearly. In the use of his ears, his object is to hear distinctly. In the expression of his look, his object is to be gracious. In his manners, his object is to be serious. In what he says, his object is to be sincere. In business, his object is to be earnest. In doubt, his object is to seek for information. In anger, his object is to think of consequences. In view of personal advantage, his object is to think of what is right. 11. 孔子曰：见善如不及，见不善如探汤。吾见其人矣，吾闻其语矣。隐居以求其志，行义以达其道。吾闻其语矣，未见其人也。Confucius remarked, Men who, when they see what is good and honest, try to act up to it, and when they see what is bad and dishonest, try to avoid it as if avoiding scalding water. Such men I have known, and the expressions of such principles I have heard. But men who live in retirement in order to study their aims and who practice righteousness in order to carry out their principles, the expression of such principles I have heard, but I have not seen such men. 12. 其景公有马千驷，死之日，民无德而称焉。伯夷叔其恶于首阳之下，民道于今称之，其思之谓与。Confucius, speaking of a prince lately deceased, remarked, In his lifetime, he had 1,000 teams of horses, but on the day of his death, the people had not a good word to say of him. On the other hand, the ancient worthies, 伯夷 and 叔齐, who were starved to death at the foot of a lonely mountain, are held in honor by the people to this day. This is the meaning of the verse. Truly your wealth and pelf avail you not. To have what others want is all you sought. 13. 陈亢问于伯鱼曰：子亦有一文乎？对曰：未也。常独立，理屈而过庭。曰：学诗乎？对曰：未也。不学诗，无以言。理退而学诗。他日又独立，理屈而过庭。曰：学礼乎？对曰：未也。不学礼，无以立。理退而学礼。闻斯二者。陈亢退而喜曰：问一得三，闻诗，闻礼，又闻君子之远其子也。A gentleman of the court on one occasion inquired of Confucius' son, saying, Have you had any special lesson from your father? No, I have not, replied Confucius' son. Only once when he was standing alone, and I happened to pass through the hall. He said to me, Have you studied poetry? To which I replied, No, I have not. Then, said he, if you do not study poetry, you cannot make yourself agreeable in conversation. After that I gave myself to the study of poetry. On another occasion when he was again standing alone, and I happened to pass through the hall, he said to me, Have you studied the arts? To which I replied, No, I have not. Then, said he, if you do not study the arts, you will lack judgment and taste. After that, I gave myself to the study of the arts. The gentleman of the court, when he heard that, went away delighted, saying, I have asked about one thing, and now I have learned about 3 things. In addition to what I have asked, I have learned about the importance of the study of poetry and the arts, and also that a wise and good man does not treat even his own son with familiarity. 14. 邦君之妻，君称之曰夫人，夫人自称曰小童，邦人称之曰君夫人，称诸一邦曰寡小君，一邦人称之亦曰君夫人。The wife of the reigning prince of a state is addressed by him as madam. She addresses him as sire. She is addressed by her people in her own state as madam, my lady. And her own people in speaking to people of another state mention her as our good little princess. People of other states, speaking of her to her own people, call her madam, your princess.